This is Oklahoma Inside Out, a weekly broadcast of Cimarron Alliance that focuses on the issues, culture, and people important to LGBT Oklahomans. And now, here's your host for Oklahoma Inside Out, Scott J. Hamilton.
Hi, and welcome to this edition of Oklahoma Inside Out. I'm delighted that you're with us today because our guest is someone that I've wanted to have on our show for the 2 years that we've been broadcasting Oklahoma Inside Out. And there's no more perfect time than right now in Oklahoma to be speaking with this person who is an international figure doing amazing work on behalf of LGBT people around the world. Quick note of thanks, though, before we get started, to Josh Sauer, who was our guest on last week's program, the race director for the Equality Run 2013, which takes place this Saturday, the 29th of June at Stars and Stripes Park. I hope that you're already registered to run that race, and if you're not going to run or walk or use your wheelchair, at least come and support everyone and cheer them on. We have a great show for you, and I'm anxious for you to meet our guest, and we'll do that right after we come back from this quick break.
This edition of Oklahoma Inside Out is made possible through the generosity of friends and supporters like you. To support this program and the advancement of equal rights for LGBT Oklahomans, please consider making a generous gift today at CimarronAlliance.org.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Inside Out. As I said, our guest today is someone that I've wanted to have on this show for 2 years. He's someone that I began working with about 3 years ago, and every opportunity that I've had to do that has been a really remarkable experience. It's my pleasure to welcome the Executive Director of Truth Wins Out, Wayne Besen. Wayne, welcome to Oklahoma Inside Out.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on.
We should tell our audience that we are actually recording this broadcast the morning after the event that you had at the Cimarron Alliance Equality Center last Thursday night. And we had a lot of people here listening to what you had to say. And really, I think that we could call this a very historic time in the LGBT movement because of something pretty major that happened last week. Would you talk about that?
Exodus International, the largest ex-gay umbrella group that's been around since 1976, trying to have people pray away the gay, actually announced it was shutting its doors. It was no longer going to try to exploit people and change them from gay to straight through a combination of prayer and quack therapy. This was unexpected. This was a huge, monumental victory, and this is really something unforgettable. And it shows that times are changing, that our foes are one by one falling by the wayside. This is a huge advance, and I can't say enough about what this means for equality, because so many people were harmed over the years by Exodus International, and they won't be harmed by this group any longer, and that's very gratifying.
You said it was unexpected. On some level, you had to expect it because this is what you've been working for many, many years. But certainly you weren't expecting it to happen this quickly, were you?
It's one of those things where you work and you strive and you get in the trenches and you fight, and it seems sometimes that the fight will go on forever. This culture war that we didn't launch, but we're sure going to finish. You expect to be fighting day after day, and then all of a sudden you wake up and your main opponent has been vanquished. They have quit. They've thrown in the towel. And it's almost anticlimactic in a way, because this is something that you've just so used to, and all of a sudden it's gone and you won. And it's just an amazing day right now. It's a great time to be in Oklahoma, because as excited as we are about winning this major battle, and make no mistake, it is a huge victory, I'm here today with you in the Cimarron Alliance because we together are fighting the new launch of an organization that's trying to fill that void and that vacuum left by Exodus International, a group called the Restored Hope Network.
And all indications point to the fact that they are really ready to jump in there and take up the flag in a major way. They're having a conference in Oklahoma City this weekend, and hundreds of people are turning out for this thing.
They are made up primarily of Exodus exiles, defectors from that organization. Now, a little background. A little more than a year ago, Alan Chambers, the executive director and president of Exodus International, spoke at a gay Christian conference, and that was controversial. But what he said there was the beginning of the end of that organization. He actually acknowledged from the stage that 99.9% of his clients over the years had not gone from gay to straight, as they had advertised on television, as they had advertised on radio, as they had advertised on billboards.
And to all the parents who spent thousands of dollars to cure their kids.
Yeah, there's been a lot of ruined lives and broken families because of this organization. It advertised this, and suddenly, after he said 99.9% of the clients it doesn't work for, what incentive was there for people to go? But that was the beginning of the end. And the second part came about 6 months after that, when Alan Chambers said that he doesn't believe in reparative therapy anymore, which is basically blaming your parents or child abuse for making one gay, which is nothing more than junk science, rooted in a fantasy. And after that, I guess it was a slow slide to actually disbanding. And it's amazing to see that it happened. But once he said his program didn't work and it was ineffective, what was the point of anybody spending those tens of thousands of dollars anymore? There was no rationale for this group to continue to exist.
And yet, Restoring Hope Network is building support, building steam to pick up the work and to continue to bilk people, to defraud people, if you will, with something that clearly cannot work.
And that's a great word for it, fraud. Indeed, the Southern Poverty Law Center has launched a lawsuit against an ex-gay organization called Jews Offering New Alternatives for Homosexuality, and it's a consumer fraud lawsuit. And so with the Restored Hope Network, which has come to Oklahoma, as you said, they are also perpetuating fraud. And this organization is the more extreme elements from Exodus that have defected. These people are meaner, they're nastier, they're more extreme, they're more radical, their views are unfiltered, they're unplugged, and they're a great threat to this community. And as we have
Wait, I'm sorry, we're coming up on a break, but I want to dig it down a little deeper onto that and understand how they pose a greater threat. We'll do that right after this.
Hi, I'm David Macy, a board member of the Cimarron Alliance, and I'm asking for your help. We work every single day to make life better for gay Oklahomans, now and for generations to come, but we can't do it without you. Please consider making a gift of just $20 a month to the Cimarron Alliance and be a part of our march toward equality. Visit www.cimarronalliance.org today and make your pledge. It's a gift you can feel good about giving.
If you rely on the daily paper and local television news for information about your local, state, and federal government, then you are only getting half the story. The Oklahoma Observer goes beyond what other news sources provide. In fact, we offer news, analysis, and commentary that you can't find anywhere else. As quickly as things change at the state and federal levels, we all need to know how legislation affects our community and ourselves. But how can we make sense of what's happening at the state capitol and in Washington? The answer is the Oklahoma Observer. We make the information and the impact on you easy to understand. This way you can make truly informed decisions about your elected officials, community, and family. If you've never read the Oklahoma Observer or haven't read it in a while, I hope you'll take a look. You might be surprised just how much help we can be to you. Visit us today at okobserver.net. Our only agenda is to provide critical news for critical thinkers.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Inside Out. I'm Scott J. Hamilton, and we're visiting today with Wayne Besen, Executive Director of Truth Wins Out. Wayne, just before the break, you said that this new group proposes a greater threat than even Exodus did. How do you mean?
Well, Alan Chambers, the president of Exodus, when he said his ex-gay therapy and his pray away to gay methods didn't work for 99.9% of his clients, this Restored Hope Network is the 0.1% of the real extreme, the believers, who will not accept the truth, who will not acknowledge the harm they have caused and the pain and suffering that has happened at their hands. And the reason is because, for lack of a better word, these are religious zealots that go far and beyond normal religion. These are people, for example, like Andy Kamitsky from the Desert Stream Ministries, who's a big player with Restored Hope Network. And he has said that homosexual relationships are demonically inspired. He believes he's fighting a constant battle of spiritual warfare where he's trying to whip the demons and the devil. And he sees demons and flying around everywhere and going to openings in people. And that's what causes one to be gay. And so these are the very typical. Another one is Ann Paulk. She believes that this is how she went allegedly from gay to straight.
But let's talk a minute about her.
Okay.
I mean, talk about dangerous. Because even when her marriage was crumbling and falling apart, she was still out there lying to people, presenting this Leave It to Beaver kind of home life.
That's a great point. That how the dishonesty, this whole notion that the means justifies the ends and such, that her husband John Paulk was, along with her, was a poster boy of the ex-gay myth. He had been on Oprah, he had been on 60 Minutes, Good Morning America, and along with Ann Paulk on the cover of Newsweek under a screaming headline that said "Gay for Life" with a question mark. It started to unravel after I photographed her husband, John Paulk, in a gay bar in 2000. However, he had just said he had slipped and he had fell into Satan's trap by going in that gay bar. And he didn't really come out completely until this year, after Truth Wins Out launched an investigation in Portland to show that he was gayer than Liberace at a tea dance. And after that, he really had not much of a choice, and he came out of the closet a few months ago. But while this was going on, while her husband John was going to gay bars in Portland and going out with men, she was going around the country, gallivanting around this nation, at conferences, selling a fairy tale marriage that did not exist, saying that she was living proof with her marriage that what change was possible and you could be happy and heterosexual, and that was the very opposite of what was really occurring in her life. She's someone who is completely dishonest and will say anything and do anything to sell her snake oil. And this is why the Restored Hope Network is so dangerous.
I read a quote from one of the board members of the Restored Hope Network saying, "Praise Jesus that Exodus is closed down because they have strayed from their biblical mission." And I think that's a very telling statement. It's clear that they have an agenda that is wide and one that they're not going to shut down easily.
As long as there is prejudice and discrimination against LGBT people, there are going to be charlatans who try to exploit that fear for personal gain. Some of them are motivated by religious zealotry. Others are motivated by profit. They see a market and they're going to exploit that. And others have invested so much time into this ineffective therapy and prayer sessions that they really are afraid to acknowledge reality. Imagine spending 10 or 15 years of your life in a marriage to someone you didn't necessarily were attracted to, and you went through all of their programs, and suddenly the leader of the group who put you up to this obstacle course of idiocy said, "Oh, whoops, psych, I didn't mean it. You can't change." That's a very hard pill for some people to swallow, and they're going to have to go and in essence deprogram themselves and to come out of the closet. I mean, it's really a hard thing to do for some people, and those are some of the hardcore people that are going to gravitate towards the Restored Hope Network. It's just hard for them to accept they wasted so much of their life on something so utterly futile.
Not just people in the Restored Hope Network. I've heard other fundamentalist preachers and others, not even in ministry, who quote from archaic studies or make up their own anecdotal information packages that they put out there as absolute truth. And I think that that's something that we as a community have got to be enamored against, are armed against, so that we are prepared to help those people who are being forced into reparative therapy. And the notion of reparative therapy clearly doesn't work. You have the evidence that shows that it doesn't, and now states are getting on board. I want to talk about some of the new legislation impacting this horrible thing, and we'll do that right after this break.
Hi, I'm Lorette Taylor, past chair of Cimarron Alliance. I joined the board because I believe in the vision and the work of this organization. We're working every day listening to the concerns of our community and helping to address those very concerns. I hope you will consider supporting Cimarron with a gift. Even $10 a month will help. Working together, we really can achieve equality for all gay Oklahomans. Please visit www.cimarronalliance.org and make your gift today.
If you rely on the daily paper and local television news for information about your local, state, and federal government, then you are only getting half the story. The Oklahoma Observer goes beyond what other news sources provide. In fact, we offer news, analysis, and commentary that you can't find anywhere else. As quickly as things change at the state and federal levels, we all need to know how legislation affects our community and ourselves. But how can we make sense of what's happening at the state capitol and in Washington? The answer is the Oklahoma Observer. We make the information and the impact on you easy to understand. This way you can make truly informed decisions about your elected officials, community, and family. If you've never read the Oklahoma Observer or haven't read it in a while, I hope you'll take a look. You might be surprised just how much help we can be to you. Visit us today at okobserver.net. Our only agenda is to provide critical news for critical thinkers.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Inside Out. We're speaking today with Wayne Besen, Executive Director of Truth Wins Out. Wayne, a number of our listeners are not people centered here in Oklahoma City. They're, in fact, listening from small towns around Oklahoma and other places. We have listeners around the world. And those are the people who are often most vulnerable to reparative therapy. Because they don't have a community of support saying, no, this doesn't work. They're left with family who says, oh, this is our last chance of salvation. But we know from the science that exists today that this kind of, quote, therapy is very dangerous to individuals, and some states are stepping up saying, no, you will not do this to kids. Would you talk about some of the recent legislation?
Well, California was a leader in this. You had groups like Equality California and the National Center for Lesbian Rights with the great Kate Kendall, who have taken the lead, and they put some legislation forward, working with the state assembly, to ban reparative therapy for minors. And it went through, and Governor Jerry Brown signed it into law. The religious rights sued, and now it's tied up in the courts, but we're confident we're going to win that battle. But in the meantime, other states are stepping forward to replicate that legislation. New Jersey, for example, I was there last week testifying on a bill in front of an assembly committee, and it could go and be voted on by the full assembly as early as next week. And if it passes, and we think it will, we hope Governor Chris Christie will bring out his Obama-hugging sort of moderate act again and rediscover that and sign it. And also Massachusetts is another state that has really taken the lead in this. But make no mistake, this is a start. We want to get this in all 50 states, people from Oklahoma to Alabama to Arizona, Florida, everywhere across this country. Kids should be protected no matter where they live. They shouldn't have their lives ruined just by where they're born. And we are committed to making sure reparative therapists cannot abuse children anymore anywhere in this country.
For those ministries now who are avoiding the term reparative therapy or therapy at all, and they're trying to fly under the radar of some of this new legislation because they bill it as prayer support or pastoral support. When we are aware of that happening in churches in our communities, what's your suggestion? How do we deal with that?
Well, I think it's a very good point you brought up, and it's a very difficult situation because once somebody labels their abuse ministry, they can get away with a lot more because of First Amendment issues, and people are very touchy in this country about dealing with churches and holding them accountable sometimes, even when great harm, even destruction is occurring within their walls. And we're going to have to differentiate between what is therapy and what is religion. And a lot of these groups are violating their tax-exempt status by claiming what they're doing is ministry, when in fact it's medicine or pseudoscience and fake medicine. And we're going to have to really work hard to point out when these churches are lying and they're actually practicing pseudotherapy and calling it church. And so we'll be looking into that a lot more as this issue progresses from state to state. With these groups that are perpetuating this, are perpetuating fraud. So that's just one more version of fraud that they're gonna jump on.
I can't believe we're so close to being at the end of this broadcast. Every time that you have come to Oklahoma, you have made a wonderful, powerful impact on the LGBT community here. You have a way of engendering support, and the knowledge that you share is without question a huge help. I want to encourage our listeners to go to the Truth Wins Out website. What's your website address?
It's truthwinsout.org.
Some of the best writing that you will find anywhere on the internet is available on this site. Wayne does a lot of the writing himself, and it's always really good information. I want to thank you for the work, not just that you're doing here, but the work that you and Truth Wins Out do every single day. This is, as you pointed out, we've seen a major victory, Wayne, but this is far from being over. In the same way that racism is not dead, certainly homophobia won't be, no matter what Congress says, no matter what the Supreme Court says. We will have those people that will continue to hate us just because of who we love. And so that makes your work even more important. You're certainly in no danger of working yourself out of a job anytime soon.
Well, and I also want to thank the Cimarron Alliance. I can't do my work without strong local organizations who are fighting this fight long after I leave. And that's exactly what you're doing. You're a hero of mine, and I thank you for taking these guys on and imparting to the community how destructive these ex-gay ministries are, and getting it, and really battling in the trenches and making great strides and creating change right here in Oklahoma. And it's always an honor to be here.
Thank you so much. Really kind words. And we know that you've got to go because you're talking with Chris Matthews in just a few minutes, so we're going to let you do that. But our guest today has been Truth Wins Out Executive Director Wayne Besen. I am awfully glad that you were here with us today on Oklahoma Inside Out. I hope that you'll plan on being with us next week and every week and sharing this broadcast with your friends. We are here to serve you, the LGBT citizens of Oklahoma. Our producer is Chris Moyer. Our announcer is Lisa Pizzieri. Cimarron Alliance Board co-chairs are Randall Marsh and Catherine Primus. Thanks again to Wayne Besen for being our guest today, and to you for being with us this week and every week. Until we're able to be together again, on behalf of everyone at Cimarron Alliance and Oklahoma Inside Out, I'm Scott J. Hamilton. Thank you for joining us, and until next time, hang on to the vision of a fair and just Oklahoma.
Oklahoma Inside Out is a production of Cimarron Alliance, Central Oklahoma's preeminent LGBT advocacy and education organization. If you have a topic you would like to hear discussed, or a person who you would like to hear interviewed, please call 405-495-9300 or email oklahomainsideout@cimarronalliance.org. Please feel free to share the link to this broadcast with your friends.